Andrew, as you know, this season I'm trying to give people more ownership over their own episodes. So everybody has the chance to create a presentation about something related to the Party Room Film Festival, and whatever is on your mind, now is the time to say it. So, what do you got for me?
Lovely. Well, what is on my mind is what's on everyone's mind, and that is what is the greatest films, and year and
Mm-hmm.
director of Party Room Film Festival. Um, and no better way, there's really no better way to find that out than to go into the hard data, to get into the numbers and actually, really dive into what we think about the festival. Little worried about some of these segments here. I've been assured we're all adults here. This is a direct quote, I think. We're all adults here and our feelings won't get hurt. I am trusting that that is true from the people who will be listening to this. Do not be upset at me. I said that's a bad idea for some of these stats, and you were like, no, we're adults. So with that said, you asked for this. So first off, we're going to go through today's topics. First, we'll address the overall top 10 that we went over last year. We'll go through
Sorry,
the film.
the image is really good. Sorry.
I'm really proud of these. Yeah, no, I'm very happy. It should be pretty good. So we're going to go through the overall top 10. This is, asked you all to rate your top 10, send it out. Then I broke it up into the filmmakers, so 13 voters there. The wives top 10, not top 10 wives. Want to make that very clear. I accidentally wrote that on a slide later on in this presentation. It will be obvious because I covered it up because I realized that's a bad way to phrase that. So wives top 10. Yeah, not great. We're not going to be doing that today.
That's a stat we should do next year. Let's see how that goes.
Maybe next year. Yeah, everyone said their feelings wouldn't get hurt. Don't blame me. So anyway, so there's 20 total voters for the overall top 10. Filmmaker top 10 is 13 voters. The wives top 10. Then, based on the data, I compiled the top films to figure out the best rated year. There's been a lot of talk over will Party Room 3 reign supreme? Will Party Room 5 come back in? Who knows? We'll find out. I know, actually, because I've seen the stats, but we'll find out. And then lastly, fun stats I made up. And I'm very proud of this. I'm actually going to present a new theory on Party Room to the group, which I'm actually very proud of, and I think it will elicit some interesting discussion.
Now, when you say stats you made up, that's not stats that you made up. That's just stats that you looked into, but they are actually supported. Okay.
Yeah, I with the data collected, I can bring forward theories, because here's the deal. At the end of the day, there's a lot of this will be, is this correlation equal causation? I didn't just make these stats up. These are all these stats come from, they all come from the data that you all voted on, right? So to go over the criteria really quick, there are 63 total films. Technically there's 64. I combined Photophobia and Photophoria combined. So Suck It, Matt, and I think Sam, who also disagreed with that, but that's what we're doing. We can change it in the future. I actually say in the comments, I think we should have combined the films. We did this last year, and I don't think anyone complained. But this year, we love complaining. It's Party Room. I get it. Happy to separate them in the future. I know there's also an argument, if we're combining these, should we combine Chronicles of Light 4, 5, 6? Should we combine End of the Bloodline and the Bloodline 2? My argument is no, because those are separate years, where these were back to back and clearly created together. We can if people want to do it differently next year, open to it. But for this year, Suck It, Matt, and maybe Sam. I forget exactly if he was against this. Or maybe it was Sam and Matt is maybe. I don't know. Two of those people are involved. I forget which side they were on. This is a change from this year, from last year, this year. Last year, I just inverted the scores. So if you placed first, or someone voted for a film first, they got 10 points. Second place was 9 points. Third place, 8, all the way down to your 10th favorite film got 1 point. This year, what I wanted to do was reward the first place film a little bit more. I feel like if your film, or if a film is chosen as your best film, as your favorite film, that is, that's out of 63 or 64 films. So that one has really stuck out. So I gave that film 12 points, and then the second place 9 points. I didn't see how that would have affected things last year. I don't think it actually would have in any serious way. but just for this year, this is actually kind of common in like F1 and a lot of racing sports. Is my understanding, right? You reward first place is a lot bigger deal than second place, so it's not proportional. It's a little bit more. Anyway, all that to say, that's how that was done. 20 total respondents. We did get into that already. So one little fun fact that I really want to highlight how cool this is that 68.25 really wanted to make that number 69, but couldn't justify it based on the data. So I had to put 68.25 to be truthful. Of the films of all films are on somebody's top 10 list. So what that means, and this is actually pretty cool, is that people, instead of like 15 films being on everyone's list, this comes out to like, I think it's like 45 out of the 63 or like 40 of the 63 or something like that, right? Which is pretty awesome that it's not just like 3 or 4 people that are making all the good films. It's like everybody loves like 69% of the films. And even the films, a lot of the films that didn't get it are still like incredibly enjoyable. They just didn't like make the top 10. So all that to say, everyone should be really proud of the fact that like you like films other people make, you like the films you make, you like the films you've acted in but didn't make. So first of all, just be super psyched about that, right? Because that's pretty cool. So with that said, here we go. So what I'm going to do,
Sorry.
I was proud of that. What we're going to do is I think it would be fun to have your input on this. So I'm going to put up the numbers 10 through 6, and then I'm going to have you guess, and we can go in order, guess what you think the top 5 films are.
Okay.
I thought about doing the top 10, but I was like, for you to like guess out of like 63 films or the top 10, like number 10, that's kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to put the number 10 through 6 up. So number 10 is The Unstoppable Force. Yeah, so welcome to the list, Jacob. I guess you were on it last year, but new film, welcome. Mr. Numbers, number 9, another year 5. So year 5, like coming in hot already. Sir Sam, so we've got 2 year 5 films back to back, and then 2 Paul films back to back, coming in at number 8. And then we have a tie for 6th place. So I knocked out the 7, put tie for 6, right? Between End of the Bloodline and Kill Happy. On a later slide, I do track the change from last year to this year. So we will get into that. But this is an interesting story of, in a way, a fall of an icon. A film that many regard as one of the best created by Party Room. And as the data is going to show, the vibes might be changing on End of the Bloodline, and we'll get into that a little later. So that's where we're at. I'm ready to show film number 5. Do you have any guesses, Jacob, on what number 5 best film would be?
All right. I am scared that you have like set this up to be like, well, it's going to be pegged, then autobiopic, that like just you are all top 5.
No, these are legit based on the data. At the end, the last slide of these top 10, I do show the point totals for each one. I wouldn't get, my quick caveat is I wouldn't get too weighed down in the point totals, because it's like it's just a weird way to go through it. Because like the most points anybody can get is technically like, you could be first for everybody, so that's 12 times 20. So your highest score could be like 240, but nobody's anywhere close to that. So so like I put the point totals in for people who care, but like don't get too hung up on the point totals, because that doesn't really work. Anyway, number 5, what do we think?
Number 5, I am going to go with. See, this is a mean game. This is a mean game because all right, I'm
going with. But I'm going to make you do it anyway.
I'm going with the Photoverse.
Photoverse, okay. Survey says no. It's just me for the top 5 films. No, I'm kidding. I do come in here at number 5 though, year 4. So pegged was there. Any guesses on number 4 at all?
My Girlfriend is a Screen.
Ooh, good guess. But no, it is Bargain Batman, another Golden Dewey winner. Came in here at number 4. This is Matt's most popular film. Okay, so for number 3, what are we thinking?
We'll see. I feel like there's diminishing returns because I personally believe that My Girlfriend is a Screen will be somewhere in this top 3. So I feel like I should just keep guessing it until it's there.
You totally can. That's super dumb, but you're welcome to.
Show me My Girlfriend is a Screen.
I'm not going to. I'm a Monster. Coming in at number 3. This is my highest rated film. Very happy about this.
This is interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a very. That's why little disclaimer to the audience. I calculated the data, looked at it, and was like, "Oh my gosh, this is pretty wild." And I texted Jacob immediately, like, "You're actually not going to believe some of this. There's some pretty crazy stuff that happens here later on." Top 2 film. What do we? I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, I won't. Never mind. Sorry.
Wait, no, I need it.
Here's okay. I'll give this to you. What do you think the first best, or what do you think that the best film is?
Oh, don't do that to me.
Well, because that's actually sort of easier than 2.
I mean, I think that, well, obviously it's Meaningless McGlone Fever Dream.
You've had to really guess.
Whatever, man. I mean, I really would think that it's either Photoverse or My Girlfriend Is a Screen.
So My Girlfriend Is a Screen is 1.
Okay.
So yeah, I just didn't want you to keep guessing that. So, but for 2, do you have any guess? I also didn't want to say My Girlfriend Is a Screen is one of the top 2. So that's number 1.
Okay.
Do you have any guesses for number 2?
For number 2, see, you already got like so many already in this, and like there's something that like I'm not seeing. I'm scrolling through this list right here.
Mm-hmm.
Who directed it? Can you do that?
It's gonna give it away. I'll say this: it did not win the Golden Dewey.
It never won the Golden Dewey.
Never won the Golden Dewey. The film did not win the Golden Dewey. Anyone in the audience have a guess? Shout it out now.
Get in the comments. You have to comment and like, or else it won't count.
Yeah, this film did not win the Golden Dewey.
I'm just gonna. I feel like I gotta stick by my guns and just say. Actually, no. I'm gonna, because this is Wives and Everybody. I'm gonna
Wives and Everyone.
I'm gonna say that it's UGG, the blue team.
It's UGG. No, it is not. UGG was very close. I could be wrong. I think UGG was 11th or 12th or 13th. It was very close. The second favorite film was Wet by Zach Adam. Came up to number 2. And then the first favorite, Year 2, reigning supreme. Congrats to Levi for the top film of Party Room Film Festival, keeping the top there. Here are the point totals, like I referenced before.
124.
Yeah, so 120. And what's actually really fascinating is on the next couple slides, we'll see how crazy 124 actually is. We'll get into that in a second. So, but what you can also see is from Wet with 73 votes to number 8, that's Sir Sam with 63 votes. That's all. There's what is that? 7 films in a 10-point gap.
Yeah,
which is
that's a crazy spread.
That's so it's like 50 points ahead, and then the next 7 films are within 10 of each other. Pretty incredible, right? So anyway, take it in. Number 1, My Girlfriend Is a Screen, Wet, I'm a Monster, Bargain Batman, Pegged, End of the Bloodline, tied with Kill Happy. There's no preference to one of them being on top. That's just the same thing. Sir Sam, Mr. Numbers, Unstoppable Force, right?
Wow.
So what we're going to do next is look at the percent, or not the percent change, the change where it was last year, and some other fun stats as well. So again, it's the exact same list, just laid out like this. Okay. I'm going to pull up the change from last year, right? So My Girlfriend Is a Screen stays the same. Wet moves up 4 spots from, I guess, that mathematically that would, they were 6 last year, moved up. I'm a Monster, Mr. Numbers, Unstoppable Force, obviously new. What's kind of wild to me is Bargain Batman and Peg stayed exactly the same. It sort of makes sense that like the favorite would stay the same, but for Bargain Batman and Peg to not move kind of makes me laugh.
That's interesting.
Kind of silly to me. And then End of the Bloodline, down 4 spots. But there is a catch to that down 4 spots that you'll see in a second. That's very interesting in the data. So. And then obviously Kill Happy down 4 spots as well. Sir Sam was 10th last year, up 2 spots, and then obviously Mr. Numbers and Unstoppable Force. New, as I said. I think looking at these, I believe if I recall, there are 3 from year 5 and 3 from year 3, 2 from year 4, and End of the Bloodline, really the only redeeming factor from year one. That's definitely a through line
Yeah.
that will also be illustrated later on in a
Mhm.
fun stat that I will show. So next, what I did, and this is the most fascinating stat to me, right? So out
Mhm.
of 20 voters, I looked at how many first place votes did each film get. Okay. And what you're going to see is very shocking. So My Girlfriend is a Screen is the number one film, right? And it just like points wise, right? It blew away, right? 50 points ahead.
Right.
My Girlfriend is a Screen only received one first place vote.
What?
Yeah, only one. Um, and then End of the Bloodline received four. Um, it's all the way down at six, which is hilarious.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah. And now to so obviously it's like, okay, My Girlfriend is a Screen gets one first place vote, but isn't first, and Out of the Bloodline gets four, but it's down at six. How did this happen? Well, because out of 20 voters, 16 of them had My
Mhm.
Girlfriend is a Screen on the list in some way. The next closest is I'm a Monster and Bargain Batman. But they also only had one first place vote, so that sort of
Interesting.
is the reason it's a little. What's really funny is End of the Bloodline is either first or and then only 8 other people voted for it in the top 10. So you either think it's essentially the best film of the festival or you hate
Mhm.
it based on the data, which is just kind of funny, right? It's either like this is what the festival is about, or like I don't want any more of this film, which is kind of hilarious to me. And I think Sam's gonna really love that. The other little caveat that's really funny, only 4 people didn't vote for My Girlfriend is a Screen in any way, and one of those people was Levi. So, which anyway, hilarious, very funny to me. So kudos to Levi for
Mhm.
being the least biased person in a way that's very, very funny. In a way, so like if he had voted for himself for first place, it would have been even higher, and then there would have been only 3 people who didn't vote for him. Now, the next step that is also funny to me, but actually really uplifting. So I'm going to laugh at it first, but then
Mhm.
talk about it. So anyway, the next is, so out of these filmmakers, where did they rank it in their personal rankings, right?
Right.
So obviously, as I said, My Girlfriend is a Screen is number one. Levi didn't rank it. The others, though, are very interesting. So Zach didn't rank either Wet or Kill Happy, which is there at tied for sixth.
Hmm.
He did in his top 10, though, have Power Friendship, which didn't rank, which is very interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. Um, and then what's awesome, Matt ranked Bargain Batman fourth, and that's exactly where it came in on, which is pretty great. Sam voted his for number one. So okay, so out of the 3 here, Sam voted his for number one. Paul voted Mr. Numbers for number one, and then Jacob, you voted Unstoppable Force for number one. Now, on
Mhm.
one hand, you look at that and you go, okay, those filmmakers are obviously clearly biased. However, the caveat I will put, I think it's actually awesome because you all sunk like time, laughter, humor into your films, and all these years, or some, it's, I guess some of them are recent, right? But you're looking back on it and you like enjoyed the time making it. And so you ranked your own personal film number one. So while on one hand, it's
Mhm.
like, okay, yeah, you're just like kind of biasly voting for yourself. I think it's actually awesome because you are that proud of what you did and enjoyed, the process of making it or the editing or the story or whatever so much that you put it one. I actually think it's really awesome. So anyway, very, very cool. Congrats to this list. Do you have any questions as we're going?
I'm curious what your thoughts are on, and it's not something we can measure, but recency bias within,
Yeah, can we discuss that at the end?
of course.
Yeah, because there's some interesting concepts I have with that. Okay, so next up, there's not a, I'm just going to put all this data up here next. This is the top 10 of the filmmakers out of 13 voters on the left. I'm realizing now it says top 10 of wives voting. That should be 7 voters. I put 13 and didn't fix that. So the top
Unstoppable
10.
Force makes it on the wives' top 10? Are you kidding me?
The wives top 10 though. This is not a like hit
Don't
on
take
their
this
top
from me.
10.
Don't
No,
take
no,
this
no,
from me.
no. What's interesting about it is like because the sample size is just so low, there's like
Mhm.
only 7, so there's like 3 ties in the top 10. So 7
Oh yeah,
of the
there
top
is.
10 films, right? So it's like, anyway, it's now, to be fair, your film did not tie there. But anyway, it's just kind of funny to me that there's all that tying on there, because again, it's like only out of 7 voters, not 13. So there's just only so many like ability for point totals to get spread out. So all that to say, and then, but yeah, obviously, you can see the top 10 of the filmmakers over there, and then the top 10 of wives voting. And this is also changed from last year. So this is compared against the wives vote from last year and the filmmakers vote from last year, right? Not the overall top 10 of last year. So all that to say, I think we can all agree that Levi deserves a big congrats for his great work. Good for Levi. Congrats, dude. You are the defending champion of the top 10. You actually, you won the overall top 10. You then you also won the wives top 10, and then you took the top 10 from Sam for the filmmakers. So trifecta. There's got to be some cool name we can come up with that I have not come up with yet. But anyway,
Triple
good for
crown.
that. The Triple Crown, duh. How didn't I come up with that? So next we're going to go through the top year. So the way I determined this, right, was we had all the films. Each film has a score. You combine the scores for each of the films for each year, get the overall score, top 10. At the end, I'll do the same thing what I did on the other page where the score is there. Now, again, the score is what it is. I wouldn't focus on the actual number. I would maybe just focus on how far away it is from the others, as opposed to what like the total overall score is. What to say? So you can probably guess what the bottom 2 years are. Like, what was the 5th most popular year? Yeah, sorry, that's a question for you.
Year 1 is last place.
It's going to come in at year 5. Yeah, year 1 is 5th. All right. And then, yeah, year 4, or the 4th best year, what do you think it is? This is hard to say. No. No. I mean, you can say personally, but it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, like, my personal opinion is my objective opinion, and never mind. Year 2, Andrew, year 2 is 4th place.
Thanks for participating. Yep. All right. So, and then, because really the only interesting thing here is which is 1st and 2nd. So the 3rd best year was Party Room 4. Yeah, year 4, right? So you've seen what the top couple films are. Which year we've got Party Room 5 and then Party Room 3. Which year do you think is 1st? Which year do you think is 2nd?
I think that year 5 is 1st, but that probably due to like recency bias.
Okay.
But that's not those both years, like, we all did incredible both years.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll get into that later. So year 2, or the second, this is so stupidly hard to say. The 2nd best year based on the data is Party Room 5. And essentially the reason for that is just the sheer absolute dominance of My Girlfriend Is a Screen, right? So if you look at the point total again, right, you've got right, that's what does it. Now, anyway, so kudos to everyone who did well Party Room 3, everyone who did well Party Room 5. This was definitely, Party Room 5 definitely eclipses 4, and is a fantastic year, right? Now, here is my theory, right, that I present. This is like stats Andrew made up, but has basis in theory. So I present to you all the girlfriend theory. Okay. Back when I worked for the governor's office in Kentucky, at one point we wanted to look at what was our most effective type of content that we produced, right? And so we pulled all the content together, we looked at it, and what we realized quickly was that we had in some like categories, so we had some that were like I don't know, like fun uplifting category, we had like holiday category, we had like getting stopped by the press category, we had all this stuff, right? And some of them we would generally get like, a couple thousand views for videos, but there were like 2 or 3 videos that went viral getting like 5 million or 10 million views. So what we realized was, with those top, like, basically if we based our entire strategy around the very rare viral video, if we removed the exceptions and not the general practice, if we removed those, it gave us a different data, a different way to look at the festival, right? So applying this to this film, basically to this festival, right? Basically, the theory is if you give like is my girlfriend a screen basically carrying the entirety of year 3, and do we have an outsized view of year 3 based on one obviously fantastic film that everyone likes, but does that basically make the rest of year 3 look like it's the best film? And with that in mind, going by the girlfriend theory, so how I did it, how I figured out this is I decided to remove the top film of every year. So I removed My Girlfriend is a Screen from year 5. I removed I'm a Monster from My Girlfriend is a Screen from year 3. I removed I'm a Monster from year 5. I removed Bargain Batman not Bargain Batman. I removed End of the Bloodline from year 1. You get the idea. Whatever the top, I removed Wet from year 2, and then what else is missing? I guess Pegged from year 4. Right? And once you take the top score away from each year, you're left with Party Room 5 actually being the best year. Now, to your point, right? This is what I kind of cut you off earlier from. Is this partially due to recency bias? Quite possibly, for sure. But I think there's definitely, the data does back up that once you take out the exceptions and focus on the overall quality of the festival, there is an argument to be made that Party Room 5 was better than Party Room 3. In a way that last year you couldn't really make that argument, in my opinion. So the audience may do with that as they wish. Maybe they comment down in the chat or in Discord which year they think is better. And again, this is definitely not to take away from the greatness that is My Girlfriend is a Screen. Obviously, no one is denying how like incredibly important that film is to year 3. But if you take away like the objectively like far and away best film, Party Room 3 is left with a lot of like mid-range films in the overall arc of Party Room as judged by the stats. So do with that info as you will. The funniest one you'll see is once you remove like the 63 votes at the bottom there for End of the Bloodline, Party Room Festival is only year 1 is left with like 23 votes, which is like so small compared. Anyway, that just makes me laugh. Basically, End of the Bloodline was the only good thing to come out of Party Room year 1, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so next, actually, here I'll go to you. So, do you subscribe to the girlfriend theory? What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, yeah, it makes sense to me.
Let me rephrase the question. Which, based on the data presented, which theory do you align more with? Like this, just a straight up data theory, or are you on the girlfriend theory side and you think Party Room 5 was better?
I do think that Party Room 5 was better. So I guess I do go with the girlfriend theory. But I mean, 221 is still a pretty high scoring. It definitely doesn't take anything away, but you can't deny that there is over 100-point gap between, whenever you take it away. So
it was, so you basically remove, if you have all the films in, there is a 50-point gap between year 1 and year 2. And if you take it away, it's a 4-point gap. So, and honestly, you could argue that that's essentially, with this many voters, that's essentially like a statistical tie. Like in an election, if you get a percentage that's like 51% more like 50% to 49%, that's essentially they consider that a tie. In like a polling, it's like you can't really get it exact. So anyway, do as you will. I'm curious to hear everyone's thought. Next, we're going to go to the thing that you all asked for. This is not me. So I took all the films everyone made, added them all up. So like all, 5 of Matt's films, all 5 of Trevor's films, all 5 of Paul's films. The one caveat here, and this is kind of where my combination of photophoria versus phobia falls apart, is that score was added for Paul and Trevor. So that same score to both of them, but basically take the overall score, the overall films, throw them in here. And based on that, the top filmmaker of everyone who do you think the top filmmaker is?
I think it's going to be you, because you had 2 in the top 5.
And you would be wrong, actually. It is Zach.
Oh, wow.
Zach is the top. Now, obviously, the other caveat here is that Levi's only made 3 films and Aaron's only made 4 films. So a little bit of a disadvantage there. I should have put the actual score. Let me look that up quick. Top filmmaker. I guess the total, the biggest possible score you could get would. Oh, dude, I'm not even going to calculate that. I'm so bad.
I was
at
about to
math.
say,
It's like, I
I
don't
do
know.
crazy math on the fly right now. Don't do that.
That's not my strong suit anyway. Zach had 181 points and Levi had 163, and then Paul. Hold on, Paul had 160. So to rephrase that, 181, 163, 160, top 3. So congrats to those filmmakers, and these listed are all their top films. The top, top rated films. Cody had a tie between Forgotten Things and Rotten Doppel. And yeah, I think that one's pretty darn self-explanatory. So all that to say, we're gonna, Zach, Adam, you can pat yourself on the back. Good work. And with that, my presentation has come to an end. Thank you all. Do you have any questions?
It's interesting if you go back to the top filmmakers. It's interesting to me how Josiah's top film is the one that he didn't write. Like, I think that's very interesting. And the other one is.
Can I? Well, finish your thought and then I'll say it. Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted.
Well, so and then the other thing that I'm noticing, just like seeing this data, fresh eyes on it for the first time. Levi has My Girlfriend Is a Screen, Golden Dewey winner.
Yeah.
Andrew, you have I'm a Monster, Golden Dewey winner. Sam, End of Bloodline. Matt, Bargain Batman. Aaron is with Science, not his Golden Dewey winning film.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought that's a good point. And the other thing too is that Zach hasn't won the Golden Dewey, and he's the highest rated filmmaker. Because he just spits out like just straight bangers.
Yeah, it's consistent every year.
Yeah,
I think,
and also the same with Paul, right? He hasn't won yet, but he's also like every film is just like a consistent banger, and so your top 3.
It's also weird to me how Tanner's Chronicles of Light book 4 is like I don't know how like I'm curious the spread between 4, 5, and 6 are for him.
I mean, they're all pretty close.
Yeah. Like it's interesting that Return of the Jedi is the. Did I do that right? Is it Return of the Jedi chapter 4?
No. Chapter 6 would be Return of the Jedi, but good try. I'm sure no one in this chat will be offended by that. Because I'm sure.
Which one's chapter 4?
A New Hope.
New Hope. There it is.
The original.
Yep. But and then also, I mean, just like one more is like Trevor's best film is with Paul.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not
shocking, because I mean, I love Les Plumières, whatever. I mean, that's like, I think I had that in my top 10 if I recall.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's hilarious. I can whatever. I'm pretty sure I had it. It would have been towards the end, but I'm pretty sure I had it because to me that's like one of the stupidest films of Party Room, and it makes time. So I don't know how you can't have that in the top 10, but this is what the data says. Data doesn't lie.
Yep. And is this data top filmmaker? Is that based on other filmmakers, or is that filmmakers and wives?
Oh, I see. It's the total score.
Okay. Yeah.
I would have had to do it. I might. Maybe I'll release like what the filmmakers think. It'd be hard to do it for the wives because I feel like the wives would then like you'd almost like give a little pass to your husband. Then,
of course.
But I think it would actually be kind of interesting to do it with the filmmakers and see what theirs is.
And then last.
Sorry, let me see if I can do it.
The last thing I'll say is that it's interesting to me that like I guess for so long I've thought that Meaningless would be the best thing I've ever done. So it's interesting to me that Unstoppable Force is my top film. Like that's very interesting.
Yeah.
How do you feel about I'm a Monster being your top film?
It's interesting. I think I definitely can calculate it. So I'm gonna like really awkwardly kind of talk through this, but I mean, I'm glad people love it. I think how do I put this? I think I'm a Monster isn't. I think the story of Pegged is better, but I'm a Monster is obviously more like family friendly for obvious reasons. But I think personally, I just like don't love the ending of I'm a Monster.
Mhm.
But I'm like a sucker for like an adventure thing. That's why I made it originally. Anyway, that's my thought there. So I mean, I'm definitely down for it. Like I like I'm a Monster. I think I'm also like I'm too close to I'm a Monster now, where like I did it for so long and I was like editing it for so long. So to
Mhm.
where like I'm not sick of it, but I'm kind of like, okay, I've seen this enough. Um,
Oh yeah.
but now, in like a couple of years, I'll be like, oh yeah, that was awesome. I had a blast. So yeah, that's my thoughts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. So this is obviously not going to be reflected on the screen there. Out
Okay.
of the filmmakers, and I really hope I did this correctly. I'm pretty sure I did. I'm basically only going to be able to do the top three because the way it's laid out, it's not like in order,
Mhm.
which is why I'm kind of scanning numbers. So Zach still is first with 133.
Nice.
Um, I'm second with 112.
Nice.
And then Levi, I believe, is third with 105. And then Paul is fourth with 103. Yeah.
Sweet.
So out of the filmmakers, it is Zach stays one, I go to two, Levi goes to three, and Paul goes to four.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that
It's
basically
pretty
does reflect.
close.
That's
Yeah.
sweet.
And you want to know what's also kind of cool? Like going back to the wives here, these are still like pretty darn close. Like a lot, like they might like shift a little bit, but like Bargain Batman is on both. My Girlfriend is a Screen is on both. Wet is just like entirely carried by the men. But like Pegged made it on both. End of the Bloodline, I think, made it on both. Yeah, I'm a Monster made it on both.
Mhm.
Essentially the same spot. Um, Kill Happy made it on both, which is actually kind of interesting to me that did. Sir Sam made it on both. UGG only made it on the men and not the women, which is kind of shocking actually to
That's
me.
very interesting to me.
But yeah, but that's awesome. And then Unstoppable Force. So they're actually like basically the same. Um, they're almost entirely the same. I guess Mr. Numbers is on the wives and not the dudes.
Mhm.
And there should be one other wife one that's on. Oh, actually, this is interesting. Science is on
Science.
the
Yeah,
wives, but not the
that's
men.
really weird.
I would not have guessed that. What I was going to say earlier when I accidentally interrupted you about Josiah is that UGG was like the perfect combination of like probably the best writer, the best writer in Sam, right? And
Mhm.
then I added like one or two jokes to it. And then the best director in Josiah, the best like production czar in
Mhm.
Josiah, um, who's also good at like simplicity. Like the whole film is simple, but that's all it has to be. So Sam wrote like a simple, cute story for Josiah, who's like the perfect person to execute that, and then cast Trevor in the lead role and Callie in the other lead role, which is like the perfect pairing. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not really anybody else you could put in like a leopard print mini skirt and have them get that kind of acting. Um,
Mhm.
so I mean, yes, UGG is Josiah's best, but it was like kind of proof on how good we can all work together. And that's like, I think I talked about this with Sam. Like that's like a match made in heaven, basically. Or no, Trevor. I talked about it with Trevor actually.
It was absolutely a masterpiece. I voted for the blue film over the red film. I'll admit it.
Oh
So
yeah, I mean and again, that's what's great about all these films is like as I was going through the data and like inputting it all in, um, someone would vote for some film for like their third favorite, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
that's a really good film, and like, yeah, I probably wouldn't have put it in my top 10, but like, that's a totally legit argument. I mean, it goes back to the 68%. Geez, I got to go all the way back. 68% of films were on somebody's top 10 list, right? So
Mhm.
we're like, all over 2/3 of the films are hits in some way, are enjoyed by people, we can say. So at least one person, enjoyed by at least one person. And then honestly, it's technically even more than that, right? Because a lot of the films that didn't receive votes are still like really fun. They just might not have been like Betrayal, Lander's film, didn't, right? The Taco Bell one, I don't think anybody voted for it, right? But I would watch that. Obviously, it's just it's not the top 10, but it's still really funny. So anyway, all that to say.
Gotcha.
There you go. Here we go.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much for that presentation.
Happy to do it.
And of course, the best GIF ever. You really have the full human experience right here, because you have Aaron in the background and Sarah in the front.
She's like, "What is this again?" I think, was this during my film? I think this was during Autobiopic.
I have no clue.
I think it was. I wish, I'll have to go back and look. She was like, "Why are people cheering?" Okay, all right, I don't get it.